Okay, Miss Kelly, what CPT code did you get?
99215.
A 99215. Okay, so we need a modifier. Who got a modifier? Antoinette, what modifier did you get?
57.
A 57. Okay, so I want to make a point here real quick. You guys got a 99215. So if you're looking at your established patient codes, they start at a 99211 and they go to a 99215. The higher the number, the more the doctor gets paid. Because the more comprehensive, the more serious, the more time he spends, the more time, the more money. So I'm just going to give you a tidbit. If you ever code a 99215 and you send that to the third-party payer, you're going to have to send medical records because he's going to get major money for that, and they want to know why he spent that much time. Barely ever coded 99215s when I was a coder because it's a lot of red tape. I coded mostly 99213s and 99214s. It was like a rotation of those because those are the middle of the road codes and they don't set up any red flags. But anything that ends in a 5 in your oh goodness, E&M codes are going to require medical records. But you'll learn that when you get there. But I just thought that was an interesting fact. Okay, so let's go back. Before we go back, I want everybody to take a moment and look at 99211. And I want you to write beside 99211, nurse practitioner, or NP. And you'll see why. So whenever Mr. Jones goes in to see the cardiologist and all he has to do is have his Coumadin levels checked, he doesn't need to see the doctor for that. He only needs to see the nurse or the nurse practitioner at the office. The doctor doesn't have to see him, but the doctor's office still needs to code that and bill it. So they're going to use a 99211 because he was seen at the office by a practitioner that actually practices under the doctor. Okay, so let's go back to our next coding problem. Okay, I just saw a spelling error. Please forgive that. An established patient is seen for his monthly B12 injection. The nurse performs the service under the physician supervision. What CPT code do we use?
Oh gosh,
This one should be easy for you because we just talked about it, right? So Sonia, what do we use?
where it went?
Oh, where it went? Oh, okay. An established patient is seen for his monthly B12. The nurse performs the service under the physician supervision. We just talked about that code.
Right.
It was 99 to 11.
99211. Why?
Because the nurse
Because the nurse did it, not the doctor, right? Now, let's compare our two codes. 99211 versus... Okay, Antoinette.
The 992.
A 99211 versus a 99215. What's going to carry more money? The 99215, right? Because the severity was different, the time was different, the skill was different. Okay, all right, so we're going to move on. A new patient. So new patient is very, very important, right? Because it's not established, it's a new patient, was seen in the physician's office for abdominal pain. The physician performs a detailed history, comprehensive exam, and the medical decision-making is moderate. What is our new patient CPT code?
99204.
Hang on just a minute. Let's get let everybody.
Oh,
you're good. Don't worry. No worries.
No.
You have a decision to make, don't you? I want you to zone in on the word moderate.
Mm-hmm.
So Jada, what do you think it is?
99204.
Okay, who thinks it's 99204 and who thinks it's 99203? Miss Rhonda, you think it's 99203? No, it's 04. You're right, it's 99204, and let me tell you why. One word. The word was moderate.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can squeeze that little bit extra money out without overcoding, you do it. A 99203 versus a 99204, there's not a whole lot of difference except it's a little bit more money. So because of that one word, moderate. Okay, the next question is going to be a multiple choice question. So the first office visit of a 20-year-old female for an annual Pap test and discussion of contraception options. It's one of these codes. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to decide. I do want to point out we talked about preventative medicine. And it's a first office visit, so it's a new patient.
New patient.
Right.
Okay. Let's see this one. I'm thinking it's D, but let me look at the others.
Okay, well, hang on, let me come back. I don't like to talk to y'all without looking at you. Okay, who thinks the answer is D?
385.
Okay, it's a Pap smear. Pap smear is preventative medicine. I'm gonna go back and let you see again. Okay, it says first visit.
385.
Okay, you see annual. You have your annual visits to your gynecologist, right? To see if you have anything going on, and it's preventative.
395.
Okay, and
I think it's 8.
395. 18 to 39.
I think it's 8.
It's a first office visit, so it's a new patient.
Once you get settled in, I'd be happy to write a little article.
I think it's 8.
Expose.
Who thinks it's A?
New patient. Okay.
I do.
385 and 395. What's the difference?
So wonderful to have you here.
So the answer is 99385. And the reason it's 99385 and not 99395 is because 385 is a new patient and it was her first visit.
Okay, right.
When you see something that's an annual care, it's usually preventative medicine.
And 95
not always,
is an established patient, right?
Yes. She was a new patient. 993,
yeah.
95 is established. That's the one thing you need to make sure that you're, are you new, are you established? Remember we talked about how knowing those things are of the utmost importance. We have to know those things. Okay?
Okay. This is lovely.
All right, an established patient seen at 6:30 p.m. by the nurse after regular office hours, requesting a return to work certificate for resolving contact dermatitis. Established patient seen by the nurse. You should, what is that code?
Big change for all of us. And
We talked about it already.
99211.
211.
What?
99211. When you see nurse or nurse practitioner, established
It's
patient,
99211.
99211. Do you see what I want you to recall that? 99211. What's going to begin to happen as we practice coding, you're going to be able to say, oh, that's new patient. It starts with 99202. You understand what I mean? Those codes are going to start coming to mind. You don't have to remember the exact ones, but you know just about where it is and what it means. So, all right, 99211. That was a good job, guys. Y'all recalled that quickly. Okay, so first office visit for a removal of a mole. The patient also asks the physician to evaluate an ingrown toenail. We have an expanded history and exam, and the medical decision making is straightforward. So it's a first office visit, so we know it's a
New patient.
new patient.
A patient X.
And we have expanded,
Expanded.
straightforward.
99202.
Hang on and see what everybody thinks.
Let's see. And the modifier. Let me go back to the.
Okay, do you guys recall when I talked about the most commonly used modifier in E&M?
22. No, I don't. Let's see. Before I get to sketching, let me go.
So who thinks they have the CPT code? Miss Roblin, Miss Rhonda, y'all have your CPT code? It's expanded, and straightforward, and they're a new patient. So Sonia, what CPT code do you think we're looking at? I can't hear you. Huh?
I say 99202.
Does everybody agree with 99202? Miss Rhonda, you agree? Miss Roblin, you agree? You sure? You're right. All right. Now, I'm sorry. Did you go, oh my goodness. When you're a coder and you decide on a code, if it's right or wrong, I want you to have confidence in your answer. There's no reason to think that it's anything different. It was expanded, straightforward, and a new patient. Couldn't be anything but a 99202. Okay, now let's talk about the modifier. We didn't just see him for, I can't remember what he came in for, but he also came in for a toenail that was messed up, right? So they're going to have to do something separate. Now, they're not asking us to give the CPT code for the something separate. They did because they didn't give us exactly what that was. But we would have to use a modifier 25.
20. Okay.
A 25. We use modifier 25 a lot for E&M services. But say that we did the office visit, which was the 99202, We would put a 25 modifier with that, and then whatever CPT code that he did to the toe. So what if he just did a debridement, which is just cleaning out of the toenail? He wants to get paid for that too. But if you mush it all together, the insurance company is going to say, oh, that's all one thing. You have to use those modifiers to kind of separate it out and tell them, hey, wait a minute, we did more than one thing, so we want to get paid more than that. Make sense? All right, let's go back. Okay. Emergency department visit for a painful sunburn with blister formation on the back. Problem focused history and exam and medical decision making is straightforward. So where do we need to go? We need to be in our emergency room department, right? It's going to start, your emergency room department starts with a 99281. That's the code range we're looking in.
It's on page 29. It starts on page 29.
Yeah, when I get my new CPT, I can tell y'all the page numbers. Right now, my page numbers are off. So it's problem focused, straightforward. Miss Rhonda, you have your answer?
99281.
Everybody agree?
Yes, ma'am.
99281. I'm almost out of time, so I'm trying to hurry up to get this last one done. So this is our last one. Okay. This actually looks like a real type medical record, right? Okay, so we're in the office. The gender is female. The age is 42, and the status is established. Her chief complaint is blood pressure check. This is her history. Long-time patient with hypertension, which has been difficult to control. Patient is here for her twice weekly blood pressure check. Examination. Blood pressure check by the nurse. Blood pressure reading is 120/72 today. Tip, minimal time is spent by the nurse under supervision of the physician for a routine office visit. What is your CPT code?
99211.
I got 99212.
Okay, it was by the nurse.
The nurse practitioner, right? Or by the nurse. So
By
that's
the
a
nurse.
99211.
99211. Anytime it's
It's
by the nurse. It's 99211. Anytime. Nurse practitioners, some of them can charge the 99212, 99213. It just depends. It just depends, and that's a whole new kettle of fish, and we're not going to get into that. But when you go to your facilities to code, you will find out who can code what, who can have what. So it's not something we have to figure out now. Another huge tidbit, you very rarely pick your own E&M codes. Your doctor picks it for you. But you need to
You just
know.
have to get the correct one.
Yes, they usually pick which one it's going to be for you. But you need to be able to back those codes up. When I was a cardiology coder, I had a meeting with my doctors about evaluation and management codes. Because when they would go to the hospital, I had a doctor who would always choose a 99232 when he could have chosen a 99234 and got paid a little more money. But when a doctor uses the same code every single time they do something, it flags. Why is this doctor only using this code? Is he really
The same
doing?
code.
So I had to meet with them and explain to them, okay, when you only use one code, it flags. The third-party payers are like, every person you see cannot be a 99232. If you see 500 people in a month and you use 99232 500 times, there's something wrong.
Not right.
He was just doing the one that he liked, and that's just what he went with. And I was like, but how much time are you spending? And so even though he was choosing that code for me, I was able to help him increase his money by about $100,000 a year by
Wow.
using the correct code. And I was his new best friend. So understanding, even though we may not be assigning these codes for our physicians, understanding how they work and why is important, because you're in charge of your doctor making money. To get the most, to optimize, not maximize, optimize those codes to his benefit. How can you do that if you don't understand the codes you're using? Right now, I have 99201 in my CPT. You don't have it in yours because they did away with it. They should have done away with it for years, because no doctor in their right mind is going to use a 99201 for a brand new patient. So they made that upgrade this year, and I can't wait to get my new CPT code so I can get it all fancied up with y'all. We can go each section together and get it fancied up. Did this help anybody?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so glad. I want to do coding class that's just strictly devoted to coding once a week.
Awesome. That'll help.
So that way we can just come up with some different scenarios and look at things and talk about them as coders. There's going to be a time that I think a code is correct and you think a code is correct. And you know what I'm going to want you to do? I want you to tell me why you think that's correct. Sometimes you're right and I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm right and you're wrong. And sometimes we may agree to disagree. But coders do not always come up with the same exact code. There may be one or two numbers off. Doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means we're all individuals reading something a little bit differently and seeing something a little bit differently. So if you're one number off, an insurance company is probably never going to notice. But we want to be able to talk those things out and learn to communicate with each other as medical coders, because you're going to be talking to other coders and we have to be able to communicate well. So, all right. Well, if you guys don't have any questions, anybody?
No, ma'am.
All right. Well, I'm here if you need anything. Have a great day, and code. I don't know where that came from. I'm so silly. Bye, y'all. Have a good day.
Bye. Have a good day.